Next, we're going to hear from Debbie Feinstein, who's the Chief of Special Victims Division, State's Attorney's Office, and she's also the Chair of the Montgomery County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. Debbie, thank you for being with us and welcome. And if you could please give us a presentation.
Thank you so much. Good morning, or actually good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you. I'll also try to be brief. About a week or so ago, we began a public awareness campaign to focus on family violence. The idea was to get out information related to services that are still available, including child welfare, adult protective services, the Family Justice Center, really to let people know that services are open, they're available, and that people should feel free to access and that they are safe to access at this time. So the campaign began with the FJC kind of putting together a video, some other handouts, and then we coalesced as a larger group in order to really utilize the networks and the information from any and everyone that was able to spread and disseminate the information. If I could ask Susan to please put up the slides, I think it would be easiest to kind of just scroll through those real quickly, just to give you a sense of what is going on with the campaign. Okay, if we could go to the next slide. So the prevention cards and stickers, which I'm hoping that everyone on the council had an opportunity to take a look at, they were included in the staff report as well as an email that I sent a little over a week ago to all of you that included links to the prevention cards, the stickers. These prevention cards and stickers have information about the Family Justice Center as well as the Montgomery County Crisis Center. They include warning signs of family violence, things for individuals to look for if they have concerns. And what's particularly important about the messaging that we selected was not only is it directed at someone that may be themselves in an unsafe situation, but also directed at our community members to know that if they're concerned about a neighbor or a loved one, they too can call and get guidance, get assistance, get help to know how to support their friend, family member, or neighbor. The cards are currently available in English and in Spanish, as you can see on the screen in front of you. We are in the process of having them translated into other languages. We've had requests for them in other languages, and we will be providing them in other languages. So if there are particular communities that you work with, or if any of the viewers of this stream want cards in other languages, we can certainly provide them. The front side of the card is also available in a sticker format. If we could go to the next slide, please. Actually, if we could skip to the next one, I apologize. The front of the card is also available in a sticker format, and you can actually see, I'm showing you some photos of some of the businesses that have distributed the cards, just to give you some examples. So if you look at the slide that's the furthest on the right, that's actually at one of our Montgomery County liquor stores, which from what I understand are doing somewhat of a booming business right now. So we thought that would be a good place to notify people that these resources are available. They're putting those stickers on their plexiglass in all of the Montgomery County liquor and wine stores. In addition, in the second photo that you can see displayed, Montgomery County liquor stores are printing information on the receipts about the Family Justice Center and the Crisis Center in English and in Spanish. The first photo that you see is a collaboration with Founding Farmers. They're putting it in all of their delivery bags and boxes. And the third photo is my boss, Mr. McCarthy, and the county executive, Elrich, at Giuseppe's Pizza right there in Rockville, who are also have the cards available in their business, but also are putting the cards with pizza delivery. We have some other community partners that we've been working with. If we can go to the next slide, please. And doing distribution, you can see, I know that President Katz included this in his weekly push. Manna Food Center is putting the cards in their food distribution boxes. Leadership Montgomery is sent to their networks. Court Watch Montgomery is helping us make phone calls to grocery stores and pharmacies, hoping they'll also display. Our community advisory boards, including in Silver Spring, have been pushing out the information. Montgomery County Public Schools have been pushing out the information through their school principals and also on their website. So the bottom line is we're really working on and continue to work on a collaborative effort to get this information out. This morning, we had a meeting of many different agencies who got together to kind of talk about what have we seen since this campaign launched. And I wanted to be able to report to you, and I am able to report to you, that in the last week, all of the agencies that were on the call have, since the time of this launch, have seen an increase in the number of calls. The individuals that were on the call include Child Welfare, Adult Protective Services, the Crisis Center, the Abused Persons Program, Victim Assault Sexual Awareness Program, the Family Justice Center, the Forensic Program at Adventist Health Shady Grove, Montgomery County Police Department. Everyone has seen an increase in the numbers since this campaign launched last Thursday. And by way of example, the Family Justice Center website, the hits on their website more than doubled the day of the launch. Our intention is to continue to push this information out. There have been some concerns that the public is not aware that, for example, at Shady Grove, Adventist Health Shady Grove, there's a separate entrance for forensic services. They have very strict protocols around protecting individuals that come in to seek services when they've had an issue relating to child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence. And again, since the campaign launched, their numbers have gone up, although their numbers are much lower across the board than what they were prior to the health emergency. And the same thing for the Betty Ann Cranky Center, our domestic violence shelter. We want to make sure that the public knows that the shelter is open, that it's available, and that they have very strict health and safety protocols that have been put into place to protect clients and individuals that are coming in to access the services, as does the Family Justice Center, Abused Persons Program. Everyone is doing telehealth and really trying to meet people where they are. We also set up an email address, safe@montgomerycountymd.gov, for individuals that may not be able to make phone calls, which is one of the biggest concerns, is that, as individuals are isolated at home, they may not be able to reach out. There's been article after article nationally and locally, as recently as today in the Washington Post, talking about how there's a decline in reporting because many of our reporting sources are not regularly seeing the individuals that may be affected during this time. For example, children, the child abuse numbers are overall significantly down. Adult Protective Services, the same, because often the reporting sources are someone external and not the victim themselves. Lastly, I would note that I've been in close communication with Montgomery County Police Department. My office, as many of you may know, I'm at the Family Justice Center. Physically, my division is there. We're co-located with the Domestic Violence Unit from the Special Victims Investigation Division of the Police Department. Their numbers are actually significantly up in terms of case assignments. I confirmed that with the captain this morning. Their numbers in terms of the serious domestic violence cases that they're seeing are up 33%. And I can echo that and sort of anecdotally tell you that I handled our bonds docket on Monday. And at the bonds docket, while we're seeing a decrease in overall crime in the county, and again, this is very anecdotal, I don't have specific numbers, these aren't my numbers, but I can tell you from my experience in court on Monday, there were 10 defendants on the bond docket. Of those 10 defendants, 7 of them were domestic violence or special victims cases. And of those 7, 5 of them involved strangulation. Strangulation to unconsciousness in several of those. What we're seeing across the board, and what I'm hearing from my colleagues, is that the nature of the assaults and the crime that we're seeing has become increasingly more serious. Or maybe to put it in another way, the cases that are the most serious are the ones that we're seeing because they're requiring medical help. A lot of people are just not able to access help. Either because they're isolated, they don't have access to their phone, they may not have access to their computer, all the things that we're always concerned about in these power and control dynamics. Thank you for the opportunity to share this information with you. There's a significant amount of resources contained on the Family Justice Center website. There are links to the second slide that we briefly flashed by. There is a document that the Family Justice Center prepared on domestic violence in the time of COVID-19. There are similar resources on their website for child abuse, elder abuse, different red flags to look for. And we're encouraging the community to go and check those out and also to distribute and disseminate them. And if there are any business leaders or nonprofits that are listening and you have the ability to disseminate this information, please contact the Family Justice Center and we will get the cards, the stickers, printed materials to you to provide to your networks. Thank you again for the opportunity, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Debbie. I want to thank you and the state's attorney, John McCarthy, and Sheriff Darren Popkin, who's involved obviously with the Family Justice Center, for all that you do. As you know, I'm a member of and the former chair of the Domestic Violence Coordinating Commission and Council. And as we all know, this is a horrible problem throughout the year and throughout the years, but it certainly has become a tremendous problem during the COVID-19 crisis. And we know that because of all of your hard work and the state's attorney's hard work and everyone else involved, that we are trying our level best to make certain that people who are in these types of horrible situations, that they are being treated with dignity, and that they're receiving the services that are so very necessary to receive. Councilmember Albornoz, please.
Debbie, thank you for this work. I know this is just terrifying and keeping us all up at night, like so many things. And I really want to appreciate your dedication. And you alluded to this towards the end of your presentation, but there was an article just today about ER doctors seeing the severity of injuries at a significantly higher level, which clearly demonstrates that the level of abuse is profound. And the scary thing is we don't know how widespread it is for all the reasons that you indicated. I wonder are you guys partnering with some of the schools or MCPS to help teachers through some of the Zoom classes identify any potential signs that are out there? Or are there other, for example, faith-based organizations who are continuing to have Zoom calls? Are there other partners that we're working with who are still not perfect, but more readily accessing people in the first person?
So we are working with Montgomery County Public Schools, and they are pushing information out to their staff. I've had several communications with them, and they are, although I recently read something about an innovative way that, and it may have been in that article today, about an innovative way that teachers are trying to directly reach their students, where they were asking students sort of on a scale of 1 to 10 how they were feeling, and then identifying students that they were concerned about. And that's something that I actually am going to circle back with Montgomery County Public Schools on as other ideas and ways to reach students. With respect to faith-based communities and other communities, we're doing our best to reach out. All of the information in the communications packet went to the Collaborative Council, to Nonprofit Montgomery, to Leadership Montgomery, and to all of the community advisory boards to try to reach out. But any contacts that you have that you can share with me by email, we will correspond with them. This has been a very quickly put together campaign, and we actually have a meeting immediately after this to continue our outreach efforts. Every day we're getting new requests for information, for cards, for online resources, and we're responding and trying to get it out as much as possible. So anyone that you can share with us, any contacts, any networks would be greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Debbie. And another question, under the if you see something, say something category, neighbors, people in different, complexes, if they're hearing things, should they be calling 911? Who should they be referring if they suspect that there's something going on? Who should they be calling to refer those cases?
That's an excellent question. And I certainly meant to highlight that. And that really points to the second line of our campaign and why it's there. Are you concerned about a neighbor or loved one? Because a significant part of abuse is reported by others, as I mentioned before. If someone hears something violent that's going on and dangerous, call 911. Don't hesitate to call 911 if you have concerns that something violent is going on in your neighbor's home. If you have concerns and you aren't sure what to do about those concerns, you can call the Family Justice Center or the Crisis Center and get guidance, get advice on what to do. In addition, if you're concerned about children, the same. You can call Child Welfare. All of those numbers and information are available on the Family Justice Center website. or as the card that I posted initially, we're all collaborating with each other. So any call to either of those organizations will get routed to the right place, with a warm handoff and a personal handoff if someone comes in and calls in. So I would encourage actually our community members to be looking out for their neighbors and to be looking for these concerns. There's a statistic that my boss often cites around elder abuse, for example. I think it's 96% of cases of elder abuse are reported by someone other than the victim of elder abuse, because they're vulnerable and they're not in a situation where they are able to report for a variety of reasons. So looking out for your neighbor in these circumstances becomes all the more important.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then finally, I know you touched on this in your presentation, and I know there's a concerted effort very positively to reach our multicultural and multi-ethnic communities. Could you talk a little bit more about that specifically, and what, if anything, we can do to support and help in that space? And are there some organizations better equipped than others to handle multilingual calls that may be coming in?
So both the Family Justice Center and the Crisis Center are equipped to handle multilingual calls that are coming in. They use the language line or other resources. And I can't speak for the Crisis Center, although I can, with respect to the Family Justice Center, the majority of their client assistants are bilingual in English and in Spanish, or several of them, I should say. I don't know if it's the majority. Tom Mannion's on the Zoom as well, if you have additional questions for him. But in terms of reaching out to these communities, again, we've worked kind of through other advisory boards. For example, I did a Zoom call with the Silver Spring Community Advisory Board where there were individuals representing different communities within our community, and then followed up with a packet of materials and asked them to engage, help with this effort to send information out. We did a radio show in Spanish about a week ago that a representative from the Family Justice Center and from the police department did in Spanish with them. But we are always looking for more opportunities. From my perspective, there can never be enough outreach. And I am certain that there are communities that we are not reaching. So again, we're trying to utilize the networks of others to help us with this effort. So any contacts that you have, we will immediately reach out to them and provide the information. We would appreciate any help and support. And that's one of the reasons I was so glad for the opportunity to address the council today, was to sort of let our community members know and let all of you know that we're eager to receive more emails, phone numbers, individuals that we can push this information out to.
Thank you, Debbie. My final comment is, reaching the threshold of child abuse is so significant, but the stress that families are feeling right now, even those families that have, or just abuse in general, that haven't had previous cases, there's probably this growing anxiousness and anxiety that is permeating. And I know there are resources for people who are struggling further upstream. So before they get to that crisis or breaking point where violence is how they act out, there are resources that are out there, exercises, breathing exercises, walking, that I urge our residents to access, because it's so, it's just stressful all the way around. And so that I think is important. But thank you, Debbie, again for your work. Really, really respect and appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Reamer.
Thank you so much. I have often thought about the horror of a child or a spouse being trapped at home with an abusive person in this crisis, and it's just it's really hard to contemplate. Quick question: I think you had said that you had partnered with some food organizations to share the flyer that you had. How many on that? So many meals have been distributed. I think over 1 million meals have been distributed just by MCPS, in the last 6-8 weeks. Isn't there the opportunity to put a card in every meal with every partner? Are you already doing that, or what more could?
So I did speak to them about that, and also about putting up materials at the food distribution site. At this time, they've elected to do electronic communications, but we're continuing the conversation. That was one of the first asks that we did make.
Okay.
And with respect to MANA, they are pushing the information out. And I actually noticed that Council Member Jawando is engaging in an effort this weekend. And I just saw the alert come across about that. And I was going to send him an email and ask if we can get the cards in those distribution packets as well. We're a small group that's trying to push this out. So we're really relying on the assistance and resources and networks of others. I know that everyone in this space, particularly the space addressing food insecurity, is so busy right now. So I think a personal contact and reaching out is critically important on this messaging. And we have thousands of cards ready to hand out. The county executive's office has and the police department have allocated funding for us for printing, and we are stand ready and available to provide whatever everyone needs.
Okay, well, perhaps we'll be able to follow up with MCPS and see if there's something they might be able to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie, and everyone. Tom Mannion is here, and we're going to wave to Tom. How are you? Thanks for Tom. Did you have a very quick comment, or?
No, nothing to add to what Debbie said. Thank you, though.
Thank you, and thank you for all that you do.